All right. Good morning, guys. Welcome in. Welcome. How is everybody doing? Welcome in. Happy Monday. I had a little bit of some technical issues this morning with YouTube, so I'm starting a little bit later than usual. I had to redo a lot of stuff this morning, so it was like it was a whole big mess. But I'm glad I'm here. I thought I wasn't going to make it. Happy Friday! Little pre-market gap up, a little bit of some upside coming in the market. We're going to talk about it. We're going to talk about, is this dip, is this upside something that we want to be a participant in, right? Do we want to buy this upside? And we're gonna go over it, right? We're gonna go over the levels. We're gonna talk about where we can be a buyer, and I think it's going to be an interesting session. So without further ado, how many people do we have in here? We have about 500 people in. 500 people in. Still waiting for some people to join. But we can get started. Let's focus on our stuff. So first of all, welcome in. Happy Monday. We have a lot to go over. Some news came in over the weekend. We had a whole bunch of back and forth news from Trump, from various talking heads about tariffs, right? There was some uncertainty about the news that was released, and Trump basically kind of confirmed it, right? So that's what's causing this little bit of upside this morning. We're going to talk about that. We'll talk about what it means for the market, and we're going to go over everything today. So we're going to talk a lot about SPY today. Of course, we'll talk about the SPY hold above the 524 level on Friday session. We're going to talk about ES. There's a big level on ES we must talk about. It's simply that 5,300 ES level. That was a level that we spoke about yesterday on Friday, and it's the level we're holding this morning. So this is going to be a big focal point of what we discussed today. We're also going to talk about the 5530 supply. On the Qs, it all comes down to one level in the QQQ. It is simply the 468 level in the Qs. So this is a very big level, and we must be aware of it, right? The 468, the 466 level, very big level. It was a high of Wednesday session, and we're sitting right at pre-market. This is going to be a major discussion point. We're also going to go over Nvidia. We'll talk about Nvidia, the bull flag. We spoke about the bull flag on Nvidia on Friday. Okay, so we spoke about the bull flag on Nvidia in Friday session. We traded it alongside above 110. We got some juice on it on Friday session. Actually, we traded it on Thursday too. Made some money on Thursday on Nvidia. Made a little bit of cash on Friday, and now this morning we are going to talk about the trade here today. Is there a potential trade today above resistance? So that's the main talk. My main ticker for me this morning is actually Nvidia. We're also going to go over AMD. We'll talk about AMD. We'll go over Tesla. We'll go over Apple. We'll go over some other chip names. We're also going to go over Meta approaching that major 555 level this morning as well. So big moving tickers this morning, and we have a lot to go over. So what I want to do is I want to jump over to our economic data first. And what I want to talk about today is I want to talk about our oh yes, I just hit 10,000 subs, so that's awesome. Thank you guys for subscribing. If you guys haven't already, like the stream, subscribe if you haven't already, because it helps with the algorithm, right? The more people that like it, I think the more it recommends to other people. The lighting right now is really bright in here, so my face probably looks really white, but I'm gonna get that fixed later. It doesn't matter. Anyway, so right now we must talk about what's going on later this week. So basically today's session, we don't really have much on the econ side. We have two Fed speakers. We have Barkin and Bostic, 12 o'clock and 7:40. Now tomorrow's session, kind of same idea, nothing really of importance. Wednesday session, you have some more data. Wednesday session is the biggest data. Wednesday session, you have the housing market index. And then Thursday, you have the housing starts and permits and jobless claims. So pretty muted economic session, nothing crazy. Now, Friday, the market's closed for Good Friday, so be aware of that coming into this week. We have a market closure on Friday. Of course, that means that contracts that normally expire on Friday are going to expire when? On Thursday, right? So less time. Basically, today is like a Tuesday, okay? And Thursday is going to be like a Friday. So just keep in mind how the options expire. That's what's going to happen, okay? On the earnings docket, what I want to talk about on the earnings docket, and this is becoming more important now. We are going to start talking about this more and more. The reason why is because we are now entering the earnings season for the market, okay? You have Goldman Sachs this morning. Goldman Sachs reported some really nice earnings. They reported a strong surge in equities trading in their S&T team, their sales and trading team. And you have some more banks reporting earnings tomorrow, Bank of America, Citigroup, PNC. But the important thing about this earnings calendar is what? Is actually Netflix on Thursday. Netflix and TSM on Thursday. Netflix and TSM are the start the earnings season for tech, okay? So as you are aware, Netflix and TSM are always the first big tech names to report their earnings. And this means that next week, we're going to have a really big earnings week. We're going to have a really big earnings week for about 3 weeks in a row. So just keep that in mind. We are now entering kind of the busy season for our earnings data. Okay, so that always makes it more fun. Okay, let's move on, guys. Let's go over our charts. Let's talk about SPY's chart. So, yeah, we have 1,000 people in here already. That's awesome. That's perfect. We have 1,000 people in. We're about to start charts. So let's go over charts. On the SPY chart, what happened? What's going on? So basically, on Thursday session, we saw a systematic downside move. Okay, we held 555. We pushed higher, we failed back lower, we held 537, we pushed back higher, and then on Friday session, we chopped around pretty much all day and did nothing, right? So, this is meta. That's meta. Holy shit! I was wondering what was going on. SPY's chart on the SPY chart. We held above 510 on Wednesday. Okay, 510 held on Wednesday. And we broke above 524 on Wednesday. We gapped up. We pulled back down to 523. We failed below 523. We moved to 510 extreme low demand. This is the extreme low demand that we had. 510 maintained as support. We ripped higher off the 5. I know you guys in the comments are probably saying, yeah, I knew you guys were going to say that. I knew it was coming. Yeah, I'm missing my coffee this morning. Anyway, okay. So we held 510 on Thursday session. We moved higher back into 524. And then we chopped around in a close. On Friday session, we broke and held the 523 level, 523, 524 level, and maintained it pretty much all day. We sort of chopped in a little bit of a caterpillar range for a good few hours till 11 o'clock. And then we started to systematic upside back into the next resistance, which is 550. Okay, so nothing crazy happened on Thursday, right? We pretty much stayed in range all day off the open and started to maintain above support and grind it above support until the next resistance, which comes in around 550, which is sort of close to where we're opening at this morning. Now, if you look at SPY and you go to a larger time frame, we have to talk about one level. So the level we're going to talk about today is going to be 550. 550 is the Wednesday high. Okay, this is the Wednesday high. This was the crazy upside, 90-day tariff pause high, right? And then we formed a resistance there. But to be honest with you, it was also resistance before, right? So you also see before the Monday low, the Thursday low, okay? And if you zoom all the way out, it was a support turn resistance for a long time. This is that this is the 560, and then the 550, 549 is right below. So the two things to talk about today's session is what? Is one, 549 here right now, okay? If you break above 549, you're going to 560. But this right now is still going to be short-term resistance. And you don't want to be long into this triple, quadruple top supply, right? If you do break above 549, 550, you're going to go back to that next hourly or daily level here, 560. But for now, we're right back into the supply zone. So if you're going to trade today's session, you understand this. Don't be long back into this band, right? This is going to be a big band. If you want to be long today, you're long on a break and retest above 550, which again is far-fetched. But if you do break above 550, 549, you should see it move back into 560. If we pull back today, I think pullbacks today are something we should be open to, okay? I don't really like buying into resistance today. I would prefer to buy on some sort of pullback, especially when the market's gapping up in an overall downtrend. My first thought process is not let's take breakouts. It's not let's take breakouts. My first thought process is where's the pullback? The pullback today, I think, is going to come in somewhere around 530. You can watch the 530 for a pullback. You can also watch the 550 for a break and retest. But again, this is a breakout in a downtrending market. So I don't know if you want to try it, but you could, because theoretically, you do have room back into 560. The 530 level comes from what? The 530 level comes from our level from yesterday's session. So Friday session, we did have a level produced here at 530. So if you are watching for a pullback today, that's what you're doing. You're watching simply a 530 for a pullback, or you're watching the 550 for an upside breakout trade. That's all you're doing today on the SPY chart. There is an argument you could watch for Friday's close, Friday's high, which is 535. That could be an argument, right? If you want to do it, you could try. It's more aggressive, but I think the real level though is 530. So 530 for pullback longs today. That's what I'd watch out for, and 549, 550 breakout trade for an upside play. Okay, but again, still a downtrending market. Let's not get confused here, right? Let's not get confused by a little bit of upside and a pre-market gap up. Okay, that's the most important part about today. Let's not confuse the pre-market gap up. On the ES chart, there's one level to discuss. It's simple. It's right in front of us. It's 55.30. If you are an ES trader or you watch ES, you know that we can't be long into the supply zone, right? You have a low here, you have a low here, and you have a low here and a high there. The high comes from Wednesday the 9th. This is the absolute top level, okay? If we can break above 55.30, sorry, not 55.30, which is the high Wednesday session, we should see upside back into what high? Back into likely 57.60, right? 57.60. Oh, that's not the right button. That's not 55.60, which is the next big level of resistance. So above 55.30, you have a upside move back into these highs. But until then, right? Until then, we are just trading in pre-market gapping up right back into supply. So you don't really want to be long here, right? If you want to be long today, you want to be long back into maybe 5,300, right? Or you can look for the same level in SPY's chart, which should be somewhere around 53.76. So those are the things I'd watch out for today. Watch for a pullback long 5,300. Watch for a pullback long 53.76, 53.75. Or if the market gets aggressive today, which it may, right? Look for a break and hold above 55.30 for a long side. Those are the three long side plays I see here on the chart in front of us. Now, again, if you are a bear today, your sole focus today should be to look for rejections here, right? That should be what you're looking for. You should be looking for us to fail off 55.30. This should be your main focus. And again, on SPY's chart, it's simply 549. So if you're a bear, you're watching for rejections off the 549, because again, that would be a lower high we're forming. So pretty big levels across the market. On the QQQ, it's simply, this is probably the easiest chart for you to see here, right? It's simply 468, 466. You held, I mean, this was more obvious on Q's chart than it was on SPY, because on SPY's chart, you look at SPY on Friday, right? And you wonder like why did SPY hold support here, right? It was holding support, but a few times it broke below support, right? And you may look at that and say it was a bearish break below support, but in reality, it really wasn't, because if you look at the Q's chart, this is why we go over QQQ. QQQ is sitting back in support the whole time, right? So while SPY was trying to break down under support on Friday's session, Qs were holding above the 443. This is a very important pivot. Qs all day on Friday sat in demand. It sat in demand for almost 3 hours. Then after the third hour mark at 11 o'clock, we started to form an upside move. Now, basically, what we've done here on the QQQ chart is form a breakout, a retest, pullback long to our breakout level, and an upside move back into Friday, into this morning session. Okay, that's all we've done. But we've already met the upside move. The upside move has been completely met here back into 466, 468. So we've already met the upside move. What does that mean? That means that this happens now. That means that we don't want to be long back into this red band, right? This red band is probably going to be a short-term rejection spot, right? Many people will be looking for reversion plays here at the 466, 468 level. So what I'm going to do is I'll do this. I will do this. I will look for a pullback long today. Maybe look for a pullback long with 450. It'd be where the main buy spot 450 would be a decent pullback long spot today. Or look for a break and hold above the resistance. But in no reality am I coming in today and saying I want to buy calls right here, right? Because if I buy calls right here, I am basically asking for this to happen, right? Don't do that today. I think the one thing you should understand is we are gapping up. This is the theme of today's session. The theme of today's session is we are gapping up across the board on pretty much every name. We are gapping up into major resistance. Patience for demand zones, look for pullback longs into demand, or look for a break and retest above the resistance levels, but don't be long into that set of resistance, right? That should be, that's the theme of today. It's on every single ETF. Let's not get caught up in some pre-market upside, okay? That's my mindset, right? So let's take that idea now and let's go over to some tickers. The first ticker of the day is Nvidia. Nvidia, probably my top watch, and it was my top watch on Friday. We did well, and actually I did well on Nvidia last week, right? Last week, Nvidia pretty much saved me from having a very shitty week. On Thursday's session, I caught some upside on Nvidia around 107. I caught some call. No, where did I get call? No, I think it was on Thursday session. It's Friday. Thursday session, I caught calls in Nvidia at 107. Got a little bit of upside in Nvidia off that 107 level. And then Friday session, I took a little bit of a break and retest here for an upside play. Didn't catch a big move, but on 0 days, it worked out pretty well. So this was my trade on Friday. Now today's session, we are gapping up into the bull flag, right? The bull flag has already presented. We've already met the move for the bull flag, and you guys know this, right? I'm not biased here. I was bullish on Nvidia. I told you guys I was bullish on Nvidia on when? On Thursday, right? On Thursday and on Wednesday. Now we are back at the bull flag highs. Similar to the ETFs we just went over on Qs and SPY and ES, we are back at the bull flag highs. If you want to look for a play today on Nvidia, there are only two ways you can trade this. Scenario one is going to be this. First of all, someone said, Jetson, you're in Nvidia calls. If you're in Nvidia calls, right, take profit. Why? Because you've already met the bull flag highs. If you want to re-enter this, look for this today. This is what I'd watch out for. Scenario one is going to be, again, a pullback long. You're going to look for a pullback long today. The pullback longs I would watch today here on the Nvidia chart is going to be a bounce off of Friday's highs. Friday's highs. Watch for a bounce off Friday's highs. Friday's highs come in around 111.50. 111.50 is the bounce area I have. You can also watch 113. 113 is an area, but the real bounce level is going to be either 113 or it's going to be 111.50. Look for pullback longs and welcome them, right? Welcome a pullback long because you don't want to be longing back into resistance. So I guess like 3 plays today on Nvidia. 3 plays, not 2, 3 plays. So scenario 1, 113 bounce, a little bit higher risk, but I like it. Scenario 2 is going to be the 111 bounce. Again, this is my top watch today. This is going to be my main focal point. My main focus is the 111.50 bounce today. Or scenario 3, which is also valid. And I know that I'm saying don't long into resistance. I've said it over and over again today. I sound like a broken clock. But the break and hold above 115, which is our resistance, which is our bull flag high here, I think that could be a valid opportunity today's session as well. So watch for the break and pull back long retest here at 115 for an upside play. This would be a really solid trade. Now, again, what I am not saying is I'm not saying we come into today's session and we start doing this. We start buying calls right here. Because again, that's not what I'm saying, right? We must either wait for some sort of retracement to a demand zone here, 113, a retracement to 111.50 or Friday's highs, or we must look for the break and hold above 115, which again, where do we go if you break 115? If you break 115, zoom out, right? Zoom out. If you break 115, we go back into 122, 123. And if you run a trend line here, I think this is the most important thing today about Nvidia too, is if you run a trend line, remove all your drawings and just take a second to step back here, right? Look at the trend line here now. Look at this little trend line. You can see that we are still downtrending, right? We're still downtrending. This is still a downtrend, but Nvidia is coming off of a very major support zone. That's why I'm mostly focused on long. Actually, I'm all focused on longs today, Nvidia. I don't really want to trade short side on the stock. Is there another trend line here? You can argue maybe there's another trend line from here to here. But again, I'm not really doing that, right? This is still a downtrend. If you break above that 115, we should go back into these highs here, which would be a tap. Okay, nope, the wrong button again. Which would be a tap of that 122 and that overall trend line, that downward trend line. So I think that we have some important levels approaching here on the chart, and I'm excited to see where this goes. Okay, AMD. On the AMD chart, right? On the AMD chart, you can see that there's a clear discrepancy between Nvidia and AMD. Why am I saying there's a discrepancy, right? Look at the Nvidia chart. We are sitting at the Wednesday's highs. We are sitting at the highs from a few weeks ago, okay? On the AMD chart, on the same chart, we are also sitting at the Wednesday's highs, right? But we are still below that consolidation phase from a few weeks ago, right? So I know that we are still equal to the Wednesday high, but Nvidia still is relatively stronger with the idea that it's above those April and March highs, the late March highs. Sorry, late March lows. So what does that mean? Well, it means that if you're going to trade this chart today, right, you're looking for this today. You're looking to see, do we maintain above the bear flag lows? Remember, this was first of the little consolidation uptrend, right? And then we said, hey, we don't trust the upside. We failed. We broke down lower. AMD shit stock. it went all the way back down to 96, right? Well, 96 was that big support zone. We broke below 96 and we produced a low all the way over here at $75 a share. Now, like I said, I'll say this over and over again. AMD is a stock I plan to just buy and hold, right? My average on AMD, just so you're aware, my average on AMD is $97, right? That means that where we're currently trading at right now, I own this stock for more than what it's currently trading at. This is still a dip to buy. Even at this value, I think it's still a dip to buy. But in the short term, if you are trading longs in the stock, you are looking to see if we can maintain above 96.50 today, right? The bear flag lows, the bear flag lows, the bear flag lows, and the Wednesday's highs. You want to look for a break and hold above this level, a retention here, and this could be a long opportunity back into 102. I don't love it yet, but this could be a play today on the AMD chart. Okay, let's go over a few other chip names. Let's go over AVGO. AVGO 186 is your level here in AVGO. This is actually a really nice chart today. The reason why I say that is because it's a very clear level. We know that if we're going to long AVGO, we're going to long AVGO above 186. If it can clear 186, we can look for an upside trade back into what? Back into 200. Yes, Express Trade said it. We have 1,400 people here this morning, and we have 300 likes. We should get that higher. That's embarrassing, right? That's embarrassing. Let's get that at least to 600 likes. Okay, let's move on. So 186. If we can break 186, we have upside back into 200. I think this is a very clear chart. Again, though, the same thing goes. We don't want to long it here, right? Look at where AVGO is opening up into right now. We're opening up right into the daily 200 SMA. So if you want to trade this AVGO chart, you know that this is your line right here. This is the level everybody's watching. It's 186. It's a daily 200 SMA. Also, is this also the trend line as well? You're seeing it on some of these chip names, but this is also not quite perfectly, right? Not quite perfectly, but you can start to see that we are still trying to break above that trend, right? The overall structure down. We are still in a downtrend here in AVGO. Okay. What would change that, in my opinion, is if we can get above this 186. So we're at a colossal moment here. Either we're going to make a move right back to demand lows here, 130, or we're going to break above 186.50, 186, and look for upside back into 200. And this could be a really nice long play because I don't think it stops here at 200. I think it probably goes all the way to all-time highs. So this is an inflection point. Again, we're at an inflection point. We're at a resistance right now, right? We're not going to long it at resistance. We're going to long it above that 186 because if it does, that's where we can get a nice upside play back into the next level. Okay, let's move on. Let's go over the SMH very briefly. SMH, I mean, we spoke about this. I think that you guys, I know I prioritize day trading, right? In the chat, I prioritize day trading. But there are times where I sit and I talk and I probably, it's probably annoying, right? I know it's probably annoying, but I sit here and I will go over these long-term opportunities with you randomly at random times because we don't always get it. But this is when it's so important to be starting to trickle into your long-term. And I don't care if we were gapping up this morning. It doesn't mean you buy today. It means you buy when we start dipping a little bit lower. If we start filling that gap, buy more shares. Look at the SMH. Look at where the SMH just held. This is a level that you probably won't be seeing for a long time. I hope we won't be seeing it for a long time because if we see it again, I'm probably going to be red again in my long term. But you can see here, look at what's going on here in the SMH, right? A beautiful high 160. And look at the hold that came in off the SMH. 165 maintained as technical support. If you're not buying here, what are you waiting for, right? That's just my view. I mean, what are you waiting for lower, right? This opportunity that we're given in the market is some of the most buyable opportunities. And even if it dips more, you just trickle in more shares, right? That's just my opinion, not financial advice, but that's what I'm doing, okay? Right, let's move on. Let's get out of here. Let's go over to Tesla. I know you guys are probably itching for Tesla. I already see it. People are probably itching for Tesla. Yeah, they already are. I see it. Did we skip Tesla? I knew it. I knew it was there. So, Tesla chart. On the Tesla chart, it all comes down to 260. 260. Simple, right? Can we break 260 today? If 260 breaks, back into 270, right? If you are a fib trader, fibs running a fib from the low to the high, we basically held, I mean, that's not the low. Where's the low? The low is here, I would say, once 217.60. You can see pretty much on Friday session, we held we held the 61.8% retracement of our massive upside 90-day pause, tariff pause, right? And we held the 61.8, so the fib traders are probably going crazy right now. They're probably laughing to the bank. Now, if you are a trader that's not trading the fib, you're looking for us to reclaim 260. If it reclaims 260, you have an upside trade back in 270. So if you're watching Tesla today, that's probably the only thing you're watching, right? You don't want to see this happen. You don't really want to see us fade again. If we fade again, we probably just drop back into the lows, right? 215. What you want to watch for is a break and hold above 270. If you break 260. If you break 260, we should see it move back into 270. But again, remember I said this last week, right? I said it last week. If you're going to be trading Tesla, I think this zone over here, right? This zone right here, the white zone right here, this is going to be called the death zone, right? This is the graveyard for day traders, right? This is the graveyard for day traders. If you're going to trade here in the death zone, right, between 270 and 280, you're going to get cooked, okay? The reason why is because there's so many levels of resistance. What's going to happen is you're going to get in calls above 270, you're in. Oh shit, there's resistance here. You're out, you stop out, breaks above it, in, you're out, in, out, then finally breaks out, okay? So I don't think we want to trade here in between 270 and 280. This is a very big death zone, right? Use so many different areas of resistance here, creating a very difficult to read chart. And I don't like charts that are difficult to read. So I think if you're going to trade it, you're going to trade it before the death zone, right? Trade it above 260 for longs back into 270, and that's simply it. You let it just marinate. If it breaks 280, then you can trade the break above 280. That would be my sort of opinion here, my 2 cents on the Tesla chart. Okay. Apple is one of the strongest stocks in the pre-market session. The reason why is because obviously you have some news across the board, and I guess Apple is the most impacted by. I don't know the actual reason why, but again, the news is obviously causing Apple to move more so than the rest of the market. The reason why I can say that is because from a pure percent standpoint, right, you move from 185 to 210 in the pre-market session. It's a 13.4% equity move on a beta name like this. It's a very big move on Apple. Now, if you're trading Apple today, there are two things I'd watch out for. The first scenario is actually it's the same thing, right? You're looking for pullback longs here. If you're a fib trader and you run a fib from the lows to the highs, you're looking for a pullback that's not going to happen, right? What I'd watch for on actual demand zones is you're going to look for a 200, right? That's a very clear, obvious level. 200 is your main area you're watching on Apple today. If it can pull back to 200, that's what I look out for. But to me, that almost seems too obvious. So what I'd watch for on Apple's chart is I would run a fib from our Friday's open price, with the low of our Friday session, to a wrap this morning pre-market, and I would watch something around 202. So 202 to 200 is my bounce area in Apple today. I'm going to look for a pullback long there, right? Could you look for anything sooner? I mean, maybe you have some levels here at 205. But as of right now, my main bounce area is going to be 202, 200. If you want to be aggressive with it, you can look for something to hold up here, maybe around the pre-market lows, right? 207 and change, 207, 205 for a pullback long. But again, I think that for me, I'm going to be focused on something over here, right? If that sets up, that's my main focus today. 202, 200. Again, the fib level, 38.2% retracement. Also, that big Wednesday high level, which is a very key level to talk about, key level to watch on the Apple chart. Okay, let's move on, guys. Let's go over Meta. On the Meta chart, 555. I will tell you guys, right? There are some charts you look for longs, and there's some charts you probably stay away from. Now, just from a pure ratio standpoint, what is ratio? Ratio is the idea of comparing the ticker you want to trade to the overall market, right? So for example, if SPY is up 1% and Meta is down 1%, why would you trade Meta longs, right? Because Meta is relatively weak. If SPY pulls back another 1%, then Meta is going to pull back 2%, right? So this would be an example of that, right? SPY is gapping up by a pretty large percentage. The market's gapping up by a large percentage. And what's Meta doing? Meta's sitting at 555. That to me tells me something. It tells me that buyers don't have the same appetite on Meta as they do on other tickers. So for me, I'm staying away from Meta upside. The only way I will be interested in Meta upside is if we can break and hold above 580. If 580 breaks, that's your best possible long trade. But until then, I would stay away from this. What I would watch for actually is I'd look for a breakdown play. If the market flips red, I'll look for shorts on Meta. Look for shorts on Meta under 537 for puts for a move back down to 518. This would be a name I'd watch for shorts. Okay, let's move on. Meta has bad news. See, exactly, right? I don't even have to know the news to tell you this stock is relatively weak, right? So I'm assuming that as news, people are saying that, right? And you are seeing it, right? So you are seeing some price target downgrades. This is what you'd expect. Okay, so look for Meta downside under support. Okay, PLTR. What a chart, right? What a chart. Breaking above 90. I mean, this is incredible, right? This is an incredible chart. This looks really good. I mean, if there was a moment to buy PLTR, it was probably back at that April the 7 Monday lows. We are now holding pretty strong here above 93. I think this likely goes back into 98, right? I don't really think there's going to be a trade here today, to be honest, right? I think this just goes right back into highs here, and that's your resistance, right? Your resistance is simply right in front of us. It's right here. That's your resistance. If you're going to trade this, look for a pullback long here at 93, or look for a pullback long here at 90. 90 is your big spot today. If you can pull back to 90, that's a gift. It's a gift. If 90 pulls back, it's a gift given to you. You just take the gift. If the pullback to 93 happens, then it's a little bit higher risk. You can watch 93 pullback. Again, those are the two levels I have here on PLTR's chart. 93, 90. Those are the two things I'd watch here on PLTR. Okay, let's go over two more tickers. Nvidia, we already went over. Google is probably going to be doing nothing, right? But I'll go over it. Google, it's holding support. Okay, 150 as support. It's holding it, right? I mean, I guess from a larger time frame here, you can't deny this, right? From a larger time frame, you can see that this is big technical support. That's probably what's going on here, right? Google breaking and reclaiming above a very massive 150 demand zone. You can't deny how strong the level is, right? It's a very beautiful, clear level. As long as Google's holding 150, I would be looking for longs in the stock, right? Okay, let's go over one last ticker. Let's go over MU. Okay, MU. On the MU chart, this chart does not look as good to me as other tickers. I don't like MU at all as long as it's under 85. In fact, what I would be doing, my main focus would be actually looking for the 85 rejection, right? 85 rejection and downside move would be my top watch. Why would I say that? The reason why I say that is because look at the 1 hour time frame. 1 hour time frame, very big level here, 85. You can see a colossal support turned resistance. Watch that 85 level for rejections. If it does push into there, right, that's where you're looking for short-term put opportunities. Okay, guys, thank you all for joining in. If you don't live trade with us, link in the description. If you do, I'll see you guys all in 20 minutes. Happy and safe trading, guys. Remember, markets closed on Friday. I'll see you guys all in a few minutes. Bye, guys.